Loch Lomond is a boater's playground, but it's also a magnet for anglers, drawn principally by the big pike and salmon, although a range of other species is present, including the rare and endangered poem. It's well worth exploring the shallow waters of Balmaha harbour, where a nice mixed bag can often be caught amongst the boats. Martin Lofthouse and I decided to begin from the rocks on the edge of the harbour, where the depth gradually begins to shelve away. Roach are an introduced species in the loch, and Martin caught this one on feeder fished maggots.
It's fish, quite lean.
Yeah. It's late May, and on the banks around the harbour, rhododendrons are in bloom. This time it's a roach-bream hybrid. Despite their tiny size, mallard ducklings have no difficulty coping with the swell. It's a small brown trout for me. During the spring months, ospreys are a regular sight above the loch. This time Martin's into something more substantial. It's a perch weighing £2 12 ounces. With fishing over for the day, the evening became damp and gloomy, but it was nice to hear a cuckoo calling in the distance. Next day, Martin and I decided to try our luck on Loch Lomond, home to the rare Arctic char, as well as big trout and perch. Just above the waterline, dog violets and marsh marigolds were growing on the gravelly banks. It was only after moving up the loch to fish in deeper water that bites began to come. The culprits were mostly dark but beautifully marked little trout. It was usually necessary to wait 10 or 15 minutes for a bite, but on this occasion a fish took almost immediately. Martin added some small perch to the tally, but there was no sign of the elusive char, which by this time of the year had probably retreated to the deep water of the open loch. A pair of brook lampreys were spawning in one of the tiny burns which feeds the loch. Loch Voil, seen here in the distance, and Loch Doine are connected by a stream which spans just a couple of 100 metres. Doine is much the smaller of the two lochs, but still a substantial sheet of water. On the banks, a red deer lost its struggle for life. And some attractive bracket fungi were growing on a fallen trunk. Both Doine and Voil hold char, but for Martin and me it was small trout all the way. Voil is a substantial loch of approximately 4 miles in length. A dabchick was glimpsed diving in the shallows at the top end. And on the marshy banks, several clusters of sundew were observed, an insectivorous plant which traps flies on its sticky leaves. It's our final morning, and after a couple of hours back on Lomond in sweltering sunshine, it was time for the long drive home.